Hello everybody, today we're going to be talking about the latest episode of The Real Housewives of New Jersey. That's season 13, episode 2, so let's get right into it. So the episode continues where it left off last week, which is Jennifer walking out after screaming and ranting at Dolores. So she leaves and Dolores is telling the whole group that she has defended Jennifer time and time again. So she doesn't understand what Jennifer's problem is, and she says that she can't be in a relationship like that. Then some days go by, we see brief family scenes with some of the women, and Teresa is with her wedding planner because she is determined to make this an epic wedding. She is so excited and I'm excited for her. They go over the invitations that they're planning on releasing soon. Then Melissa and Joe, we see a scene with them as well. They are packing because they're going to go to an award show, and she's actually presenting the award with Teresa. So they think it's going to be really awkward. But Joe and Melissa are still really pissed that Louis called them insecure because remember Margaret went and told them what they said to her. So Danielle is going over to Jennifer's house and brings her kids, so the kids have like a little play date and then they are just hanging out. And Danielle's asking her how is she after the calendar photo shoot, especially with Dolores. And Jennifer says that she's done with her. And Danielle she's kind of kissing up to Jennifer, which I get it because she is new to the circle, so I guess she's trying to be friendly with everybody, but I did notice that. And she says that Teresa filled her up with all of the girls, and they're actually wondering how Teresa and Margaret's little meeting went. So they FaceTime Teresa, and Teresa says that it went great. But then Jennifer brings up a girl named Laura. Now, Laura used to be best friends with Margaret. She isn't anymore, and wanted to talk mess about Margaret to Jen and to Teresa, but they didn't want to hear it. Although Jennifer does admit that if it were vice versa, Margaret would have definitely talked to that woman. But apparently Jennifer did hear something that the friend said, but they don't want to say it out loud. But I'm sure it's going to eventually, be said. I'm positive of that. Then we see a little bit more on the new housewife, Rachel. She has 3 kids, so she's kind of like interacting with her family in this scene. And she mentions that Danielle, the other new housewife, is planning a party that she invited everyone to. Then we see Margaret is having some of the women over to her house, which include Jackie, the friend of the show because she got demoted, Melissa, Dolores, and then another new friend of the show whose name is also Jennifer. And they play like a game with like dirty, risky questions, and they're having fun overall. But they did ask Melissa how did the LA trip go with Teresa, and she says that it was weird and that she's done with her. Jackie says that Jennifer is more dangerous than Teresa is, and they kind of like all stick their 2 cents about Jennifer, including Dolores, of course, because she's the one that has the main issue with her. And then Margaret mentions that friend named Laura that I mentioned earlier. And Margaret says that she's thinking that Jennifer deliberately went looking for the old friend to get dirt on Margaret. So it's a little weird because this accusation now is turning into Teresa and Jennifer meeting with March's ex-best friend, Laura, and someone in Jen's circle told Margaret. So it's pretty interesting. But then it's another day, and then there's a scene with Dolores with her new boo. They're at his place. His name is Paul, and he says that he would definitely like to be more social alongside Dolores, like as a couple. And he says that he gives her some advice regarding Jennifer. And then they talk about Frank and how this new dynamic is going to work because Paul does want to have his woman for himself. Makes total sense because Frank is still living over there. So I definitely understand why they need some privacy. And then it's really cool because they show every housewife getting like the doorbell and them receiving the invitation to the wedding for Teresa, which the invitations were awesome, really elegant and nice. And the first thing that I thought when I saw them was Ramona when she accidentally leaked it. And they show specifically when Joe and Melissa get the invite, and they continue to talk bad about Teresa. I mean, that's all they do. They really don't like Louis. They say that their relationship has gone backwards now. But, for Melissa and Joe who really don't want to be with Teresa anymore, they seem to be talking awfully lot about her. Just saying. But, you know, it's the day for Danielle's party, so she's getting everything ready. It's actually a mozzarella party because they're going to be making mozzarella cheese. So that's kind of cool. I gotta say, though, Danielle, she's like such a breath of fresh air. And so is Rachel. You know, I'm excited for them. And I'm glad that they turned them into housewives from the get-go instead of being friends. So I'm excited for what they're going to bring. And then Teresa arrives and they talk about the invitation, and apparently they had to remake all the invitations because of Ramona's mistake. They did address that, so that was kind of funny. And then everybody else is arriving. Everybody's asking Dolores if she has spoken to Jennifer after the last time, and she said that she hasn't. Teresa does kind of defend Jennifer in a way, which makes Dolores really mad, and she even calls Jennifer the C word. And like I said last time, Dolores and Jennifer, they clearly still have love for each other, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be so invested in it. I really do think it's just like a lack of communication. But Teresa is also asked about Melissa and Joe, and she says that she is in such a happy place that she feels like they should be happy for her, you know, instead of bringing all this negativity. And then Jennifer and Margaret arrive together. So everybody's there except Jackie, who apparently Danielle doesn't really like her. I can't blame her. And then Rachel even jumps in and says, I don't like her either. She made like a rude comment last time. And then Jennifer, you know, she throws a little dig in there and tells Rachel if that's why Rachel was really rude to her last time. So they have a little back and forth. And then somehow the word hypocritical was brought up because of Margaret. They were discussing Margaret's situation back last time they saw each other. So that's what Jennifer's referring to. So now Margaret gets involved because she is mad about what she's been hearing. And then they're going a little bit back and forth, and Margaret says, well, you shouldn't be using the word hypocritical. You know, you have a lot of things to answer. But then Danielle, kind of like the host of the party, she kind of shuts it down, and she gets everybody together, and they begin to make the cheese. They have some fun, you know, they're doing the cheese, having some laughter and everything. And then Margaret pulls Jennifer to the side and questions why did she go meet her ex-best friend when they had just made up and agreed to be friends. And Jennifer is like trying to justify herself, but Margaret is not having it. So Margaret says, do you even want to be my friend? And Jennifer, like, she kind of like does like some play on words, like, well, there's a spectrum of friendship, so this and that. And like I said, Margaret is not helping the situation either, because then she tells Jennifer that she needs some help, and then she walks away. So they didn't get anywhere. So Margaret walks away, like I said, and talks to the other ladies, but Jennifer can actually overhear. She can hear what she's saying, and she says, what's going on? And Margaret says, you always have issues with people. Like, now you have an issue with me, and now you have an issue with Dolores as well. And Jennifer, she can't bite her tongue. So she says something snarky about Dolores. Now, keep in mind, they're all sitting around the pool, but Jennifer is standing. And when Jennifer said that snarky comment about Dolores, when I tell y'all the way that Dolores got up with that tenacity and approached Jennifer, I was like, ooh, like everybody thought she was trying to do something, but she didn't. Dolores just told Jennifer that she has bad-mouthed her to the entire group. And then Teresa gets up, she kind of gets involved, of course, kind of defending Jennifer. And Dolores says, you know what, let's just ignore each other, whatever, like it's not even worth it. So they kind of agree on that. So now it's kind of like Jennifer and Teresa are on this side, and then everybody else is over there. So then Teresa goes over jokingly and says, well, since everybody's having such arguments, why don't I have some seating arrangements for my wedding? Like I said, jokingly. And then Margaret says, well, last time you did that caused some problems. And that opened a can of worms, and I tell you, it went back to the whole Teresa problem with Melissa and Joe about where they sat for her engagement party. So again, they go back and forth. I gotta say, it's really tiring. But Melissa says that she was horrible to them. And Teresa says that Melissa didn't stand up to Margaret last year when Margaret was talking bad about Teresa, and Melissa says that is not true, and they start to go back and forth, and then like fingers are floating through the air, and they get up and they're screaming. But I gotta give it up to Teresa, because even though she was arguing and like giving her point across, but at the same time she was being calm. Melissa, on the other hand, wasn't being calm. And yeah, like I said, they're not getting along at all. So that's where the episode ends though. And then next week is going to be really interesting because the highlight of the promo that they showed is that Joe and Louis are going to get into some sort of disagreement. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, as far as this episode, that is all we got. A lot of the same. Dolores versus Jennifer and Teresa versus Melissa. Like I said, I hope they don't pull this too much because it is only the second episode and I feel like we're all already tired of it. But let me know in the comments, what did you think of this episode and what do you think about Jennifer? Are you on her side or do you think she should tone it down a little bit? Let me know in the comments and please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. Y'all have a good one. Bye.